Are you considering divorce? Are you dealing with it now? Are you on the other side and not sure what comes next? You've come to the right place. Welcome to the Divorce Do's and Don'ts Show with your host, Lisa C. Decker.
Hello and welcome. I'm Lisa Decker, your host, certified divorce financial analyst, real estate collaboration specialist in divorce, and the founder and CEO of Divorce Money Matters and the sponsor who brings you this show, DivorceTown USA. And we are so excited to have you here today because we're celebrating. Whoop, whoop. It is our first year anniversary. We have done 52 shows, and it has been an experience like no other for myself and for many of the guests to have appeared here on the show, sharing their expertise and their caring from the heart. And we have picked 10 tips that we want you to take away. And it was really a tough decision, folks, because I'll tell you, there was so much great information. It was really hard to choose. So we'll probably do another compilation video somewhere along the way, but stay tuned for that one. So today, what we're going to talk about are the do's and don'ts, obviously, of divorce, and our show exceeded all of the expectations this year. And now we're going to highlight some of our favorite shows. And again, this was a super hard choice in 10 tips from this past year that we want you to take away and apply to your life where applicable. All right. So our pilot episode, our very first show, started us off smart when contemplating divorce. And this is the divorce episode, as we can see here. I'm waiting for that first screen to pop up. There we go. So take a look at this clip from that show. Okay, folks, I think we may be having a little bit of a technical issue here, so bear with us. This is something new we're trying today, and hopefully you are hearing the copy, because I am not. You are hearing the audio because I am not. But basically, what I talked about in that show is starting smart and the Start Smart formula that I created. And I'll give that to you in a recap here in case you weren't able to hear that audio. And so S is for start early, because divorce takes time, sometimes lots of it. You don't want to race through it. You don't want to put your head in the sand. You want to give yourself enough time for your team members to help you get through it in the best way possible. M is for manage your emotions. You want to work with a coach or a therapist or someone you trust to help you keep the emotions under control so that you can make your best decisions, not from an emotional standpoint. The A is for assess your options, because you do have them, and you can find out more about that at DivorceTown USA with our roadmap. The R is about reaching out for help, because you really do need help at this time in your life. This is not a time to be alone or go it alone. And the T is for it takes a team. So make sure you're building a team of quality professionals around you so that they can help you get your best outcome. All right. Up next, we sat down with Amicable Divorce Network founder Tracy Ann Moore Grant, who explained the advantages of keeping your divorce out of court whenever possible. And here's a quick peek at that segment.
But it's really a choice on how do you resolve these issues. Are you going to resolve them sort of, in the nastiest, most expensive way possible? Is that how you're going to choose to move forward in your life? or are you going to choose to move forward in, a more reasonable, way? There are very rare cases that aren't a good fit, for the amicable divorce network, and our professionals are trained on identifying those cases and not, recommending this process. Again, that's a very limited sort of category of cases, but our professionals are trained to handle, parties that are upset. To be a member, you have to be experienced in family law. You can't be a new attorney, mediator, or other professional, because you have to have some years under your belt to be able to manage those expectations, manage those emotions, sort of keep people focused, and, help them, truly with your expertise, which, certainly has a lot to do with what you learn about the law and cases, but actually has an incredible amount to do with dealing with people in crisis.
Great tips there from Tracy Ann Moore Grant, the founder of the Amicable Divorce Network. Another important episode was with the founder of the Upside Down Divorce. And that one's coming up now. That's Andrew McConaughey, who's going to show us and talk with us about how keeping the kids first means doing divorce differently. Let's see how that works.
So the upside down divorce process, the reason why it's called upside down is because you end with attorneys, you don't begin with attorneys. So because it is ultimately a legal process that you have to file with the courts, because you're legally married, you have to become legally divorced. There has to be some legal process to that in attorneys, but it's at the end versus at the beginning. So instead, it starts with a mental health person who is trained in developing parenting plans, like myself or Tracy, and there's many others in the Atlanta area. And we are basically what's called a neutral, which means that we are not on either spouse's side. We are trying to help them develop their parenting plan together. And in the process, we also try to encourage them to communicate more effectively with each other and collaborate more effectively with each other, and learn some skills that will not only help them develop the parenting plan, which is a legal document essentially, but then also take those skills into their post-married life and co-parenting divorce life, and have a good, hopefully good relationship with each other, because that's the most important thing.
We also had the privilege of interviewing the pioneer of financial psychology, Dr. Ted Klontz. Watch now as he explains how our brains can cause us to make bad financial decisions in this mind over money episode.
First of all, to know that they're probably this is probably one of the most emotional, dramatic and traumatic situations that they will ever experience, right? And to know that they're at high risk for that, and just assume that I'm probably, if I get warmed up and fired up, I'm probably not going to make good decisions. And I don't care who you are, how much you know. The part of the brain I'm talking about is 7 years old and is immune to what our neocortex is telling us we should do. I mean, there's a point in time when we get emotionally revved up enough, there's a trap door that closes between what we know we should do and what comes out of our mouth. And just to understand that, and the more we understand, it doesn't just happen. Our bodies begin telling us that, you know, we're reaching that 7.5 or greater in terms of emotional energy. Anything happening above a 7.5 on a 10 scale is nothing. It's not going to be good. Whatever it is, we will not make the best decision. And again, I think it's really important to have somebody to lay this out with, to work through it, to somebody to hear you. This is not about controlling all of this. It is about deciding where you decide to take it and share it and that kind of thing.
I always love Dr. Ted's information. He is just a genius. Well, what about those who are in a high conflict divorce? Would you want to avoid it becoming a divorce nightmare? Most people would. Watch as our guest Attorney Melody Swilling explains how the amicable divorce process works well, even in high conflict cases. What happens when a couple doesn't want to litigate, but they just can't seem to communicate? Is there some way for those kinds of clients to be able to use the ADN network?
I actually think those are great clients for this process. Amicable divorce network cases do not mean that you're sitting down over coffee and coming up with the solutions together. You're not best friends. You're not going to the movies together. There's a reason you're getting divorced. But you recognize the value of staying out of court, whether that's a risk assessment, right? You're just a very pragmatic, business-minded person who realizes sending it to the judge is basically the only form of legalized gambling in Georgia, right? You may just like the value of taking control of it. A lot of people also have fears of attorneys just doing a lot of harm to their family unit. And these are attorneys and professionals that are vetted by our peers to be solution-oriented, right? We're reasonable billing practices, we're solution-oriented. You know, we have a long professional relationship. It doesn't mean that we compromise our advocacy, right? And that's the beauty of the ADN process, is we're still advocates, but we're doing so in a very collaborative, let's find the solutions, let's bridge the gaps, let's see where we can make these two individuals who haven't agreed on something because they're getting divorced.
I'm really enjoying getting to see these clips again. I've forgotten all these great tips along the way. So do you feel like your spouse could be hiding assets from you in your divorce? In this next clip, IAG Forensics founder Laurie Dyke shows us when we may want to dig deeper and when it's time to stop. So when should somebody dig deeper and when should they stop, Laurie?
Okay, so the yardstick I always use is this work going to affect and hopefully improve the outcome of your case? If someone brought significant assets into the marriage and the asset has stayed in their sole name, and it may have, let's say it's a real estate, may have been refinanced or whatever over the period of time, it's probably worth doing some analysis and finding the deeds and figuring out what the separate and marital property is. But if someone brought a checking account into the marriage and it's been commingled and spent over the many years on stuff, groceries and stuff for the kids, there really isn't anything we can do with that that's going to make a difference in the outcome of the case.
And again, it's always about cost versus benefit when you're looking at, how deep to dig. What might you get in return? You want to weigh the expenses against that. Next up, we're going to talk about this question: does your soon-to-be ex have a high conflict personality? Do you constantly find yourself playing the blame game in your negotiations? Let's watch Bill Eddy outline his simple 3-step process for shifting blame to problem solving. Can you describe the process and why it helps in difficult situations or any situation?
Yeah. So the 3 steps are: one person makes a proposal, and proposals usually include who will do what, when, and where. Picking up the child for the exchange for parenting time, when dollar amounts are paid for child support, things like that. Then the other person needs to ask questions about it, and then simply say yes or no, or I'll think about it. And this really contains the discussion, because what often happens, especially with high conflict people, is you get into talking about the past and they argue with the proposal and say, well, that's a stupid proposal, Or why didn't you make that proposal a year ago? We could have saved $50,000 or whatever. And so this contains the discussion and helps you really focus.
And by the way, Bill Eddy is a national expert, an attorney, a mediator, a therapist. I mean, this expert has it all. And that is a great tip that he just gave there. So next up, we're going to talk about, does your child have special needs that may be complicating your divorce? We find this a lot when there are special needs in a family. In this excerpt, founder of Protected Tomorrows, Mary Ann Elhart, explains how they help families with long-term solutions that can be incorporated into your divorce plan.
Well, we're having this conversation of where do you see your child living? Many times we hear one parent saying, well, they're going to live with me for the rest of my life, and the other parent recognizing that's probably not reality, or vice versa. And so we try to have that conversation of what's really in the best interest of the child on a consistent basis. What are their medical needs? Understand that. Understand what are their recreation needs, because a child isn't just about their medical needs and what the parent can do, but it's what the society can do and what recreation programs and what make that happiness. We focus on that. Is it recreation? What triggers things that we have to worry about? Education. And education isn't done at high school in the special needs world anymore. There's programs all over this country that are college programs. So we're talking about things, 20 years ago, we didn't have conversations about college. But now I have many families who have their child in some kind of transitional education, which is 2 or 3 years, and they come out with the ability to do more than the parent ever thought they could.
I love those tips from Marianne. Once you've divorced, could you possibly ever envision taking a vacation with your kids and your ex? Well, when might that be a good or a bad idea? Divorce coach Karen Millen shared her personal experience in this special episode here, where she gives her top tip for planning a successful co-vacation.
One of the biggest advice is to be really aware, right? Is aware of your thoughts, aware of your beliefs, and aware of your differences. So for example, my ex and I, he's very type A, extremely organized. He needs to get to the airport 3 hours in advance, and he needs to, be extremely, like, everything is planned. And that's where my Colombian background comes in. I'm a little more disorganized. So we clearly identify that, and he gets in an Uber and gets there earlier, gets there 3 hours in advance, right? When we choose a destination, I know he likes to bask in the sun for 8 hours straight, and I love the shade. So we are always planning for this. If we get a place, make sure that I can sit on the shade, he's in the sun. One of the best vacations we choose is like an all-inclusive resort, so that he wakes up at 5 a.m. in the morning and likes to be active and do a million things. I like to sleep in. So, it's, we have scenarios where we can both enjoy ourselves and not be upset at each other and have time away as well.
And we're getting to our final clip here. So you're divorced and you're ready to get back out there and travel again. Not sure where to start, afraid to go it alone, ready to plan your dream vacation. The options for creating your post-divorce wanderlust are endless. And here I talked with the Classy Lassies from Ireland. They are travels experts from Ireland who live in the States, and they will show you just a few of the possibilities that are out there.
There are some awesome women-only tour options. Where you can go with a group of women. They could be, divorced, single, it doesn't really matter. They could be just wanting to get away. A lot of women's spouses don't like to travel with them, and they love to go away on a girls' trip. So there's lots of options like that, where you can go to different countries, and they're specifically for women, run by women. You'll work with local women entrepreneurs for sustainability type of incentives and stuff like that. And it gives them an option to, you know, be with a group of women, meet new women, and then just really celebrate women in business and women who are working in these countries and have these great tour options.
Wow, did you catch all 10 of those episodes? Well, if not, don't worry. You can always catch the replays on our DivorceTown USA YouTube channel. And we'll have a link to that on our page as well. So what can we look forward to in 2023? Right around the corner. Here are just a few of the topics we have coming your way. So how and when should you introduce a new partner to your children? I like this one as well. Healing intergenerational trauma as a couple. That's a very interesting topic and one that I am extremely interested in. Cultural and religious considerations in divorce. Also a hot topic. And the sandwich generation caught between taking care of parents and children. And boy, oh boy, can I speak to that. Well, as you can see here, there's a lot more to come, and we want to hear from you. So please, if there's a topic we haven't covered yet or something you'd just like to delve deeper into, please let us know. And as promised, we'll be bringing you an anniversary scavenger hunt based on this episode. The details will be in the forthcoming e-zine this week on Sunday. So be sure to subscribe at DivorceTownUSA.com if you haven't already. And we will see you next week. But before we go, I'm going to wrap up with sharing some resources that we have available for you, and these are all free. At DivorceTownUSA.com, you can download the DivorceTown USA roadmap. I think we're off a slide here, which includes an ebook that explains the options and helps you understand which is best for you and your family. You can also find articles and videos on the marketplace there. And now we're looking at the right slide. Divorce Money Matters can help. You can download your free divorce financial fitness kit. And I created this to help you get better organized and take more control of your money matters during your divorce. This kit includes an ebook, a working Excel spreadsheet, a sheet of documents you'll need to gather, and a list of 50 must-ask questions when you're ready to meet with a family law attorney. Next slide, please. DivorceTown USA also sponsors a divorce help and hope support group through meetup.com, and we meet once or twice a month through Zoom. Meeting dates and times are always posted on DivorceTown USA in the events section. And next week, as we continue our anniversary celebration of the Divorce Do's and Don'ts show, we are going to be sharing more with you, and we're going to have a recap of the DivorceTown roadmap and the ins and outs of that and what you need to know. So we hope that you have found this week's episode of Divorce Do's and Don'ts helpful, and we look forward to seeing you all next week and every week as we continue improving the way the world divorces, one family at a time.